Hello, good morning, Natural Heart family. This is your home for the 100-year heart. We have a very special Facebook Live edition for you this morning. We've got Dr. Jack Wolfson, board certified cardiologist, and myself, naturopathic physician, Dr. Lauren Lattanza. Today, I will be interviewing Dr. Jack Wolfson about cardiology coffee, which I've got right here. If you've had it, you know you love it. We wanted to kind of get to the bottom of why we have this available to our patients, our followers. I think it's just a really important addition, and want to kind of get the origin story and how this came to be. So welcome. Good morning, Dr. Jack Wolfson.
Dr. Lauren, it's a pleasure to be on with you as always, and it's great when I see you in person in the office in Scottsdale, and then of course virtually. And it's a great morning here in Colorado, as it is, I'm sure, in Arizona, and I enjoyed my cardiology coffee this morning. Had a couple cups of decaf, actually, and everything over here is good. So again, yeah, it's great to be interviewed about this. You know, I was a coffee drinker really since a very early age. My father was a coffee drinker, and he got me interested. I wanted to be just like my father, follow in his footsteps, and kind of coffee came along that same way. So back then it was these tins of Hills Brothers, big, things of coffee, of what those were. And again, when I started drinking coffee, it was on maybe like an occasional car trip, and I wanted to be, again, just like my dad. And that's how I started. And then from there, it's, morphed into a coffee drinker in undergrad. And I know, those days up when they were a lot more recent for you, you going through medical school, you going through undergrad, and how reliant we are on coffee. And then it gets into, again, medical school, residency, fellowship in the hospitals, and we're drinking out of styrofoam cups, and we're drinking the cheapest coffee available, not even thinking about any possible negative or positive health ramifications of that. And then when I would meet my wife, and she would tell me, listen, coffee is not good for your gut. Coffee is not good for your adrenals, for your hormones. And I was able to understand that there's, certainly that school of thought, and to wean myself off of coffee. But then over time, I would get back into it. It was organic coffee. And then ultimately, as I wrap up this long story, I was being asked to contribute some medical thought leadership to a coffee company, and I was talking about the heart health benefits of coffee, and then it said to me, you know what, I'm going to go find the best coffee that I can find, start my own company, Cardiology Coffee, and here we are talking about it.
I love it because and especially with our education and our background and everything, we know that we've become reliant on caffeine over the years, but we know that, as with anything, we don't just get one thing that we're bargaining for when we're ingesting something. There's all kinds of other components to coffee or food or what have you. So if we're going to be drinking coffee, which I've had 2.5 cups today of the fully caffeinated version of the cardiology coffee, but we also there's so many, phytonutrients, so many benefits to be had that can be negated by pesticides, molds, all kinds of different, bad things. So we can take the bad with the good, or we can really streamline it and make it easier, which is what you have done by sourcing the best coffee available to provide the benefits that we're looking for.
Yeah, listen, and as Dr. Lauren Lattanza and I are talking about coffee in general, jump into the comment section, say hello, let us know if you're drinking coffee, what your favorite coffee is, what your favorite roast of coffee, what do you like to add to the coffee? Certainly, if you are adding any kind of artificial sweeteners or flavorings to your coffee, do not mention that to us. I do understand that obviously most of you are not doing that. In fact, everyone who's listening to our channel, there's no way that they're adding the unhealthy artificial ingredients. But, again, let us know your favorite way to enjoy it. Maybe introduce how many cups. Let us know if you think it's helped or hurt any of your symptoms as well. So, again, Dr. Lauren, when I started looking into finding the healthiest coffee in the world, certainly organic was up front. And first and foremost, we were looking at to make sure that the pesticides and the chemicals were out of our coffee, and only like 5 to 10% of the coffee roasted around the world is grown organically, which means 90+% is grown with pesticides. And as I like to say, pesticides kill pests and they kill us. They kill us in a variety of different ways. Probably the most likely mechanism and the most abundant mechanism is what it does to the gastrointestinal microbiome. And as you destroy the microbiome, all those good, healthy bacteria and co-inhabitants of our bodies, as you destroy all those with heavy pesticide exposure, and again, coffee is one of the most heavily sprayed crops in the world. When you destroy the microbiome, now you really start to derail our immune system, our gastrointestinal health, leading to things like leaky gut. And once you have leaky gut, now all bets are off. You have all kinds of issues, which of course leads to a lot of cardiovascular issues as well.
Right. And this is something that we get in the habit of drinking every single day. So, and you've said before, and we know it to be true, that there is no healthy level of pesticides to ingest. So you're ingesting a small amount of pesticides and herbicides every single day. And these components, like glyphosate, for example, is just directly affecting your gut permeability. So it just is a great way to double down every single day and really, kind of avoid all of these pesticides from the first thing that you drink when you wake up. So maybe you have some good purified water, but then you're going straight to coffee usually. And we want to make sure that it's not full of a bunch of garbage.
And I do want to say this too, is that we're going to talk about so many of the health benefits of coffee, but I would never encourage someone who's not a coffee drinker to necessarily start drinking coffee. I don't encourage anyone else to push their children to drink coffee. Societies all around the world, the children do drink coffee, just like, again, they drink alcohol, as well, little bits in younger ages. So it's not taboo. It's not something to totally be avoided. But I mean, again, there's a lot of different ways to get the nutrients from coffee into our diets, into our bodies. We don't necessarily have to do it from coffee. But again, if you're going to do it from coffee, do it in the best format. Dr. Lauren, tell me your origin story of coffee. What was the earliest in the Lattanza household?
So my mom had always drank coffee with like the creamer, the powdered creamer. And I knew, like, if it's milk, it should probably look like milk. It should probably be a liquid. So I knew from a young age that was not a good route to go. But just, I think, kind of growing up in, the Starbucks boom era, I did kind of start going on with the, be it a caramel macchiato or all these sugar-filled beverages. I think in high school is when I started, drinking my first lattes that were maybe a little bit of coffee with a lot of sugar and a lot of junk. But when I got into college and started kind of becoming more mindful about what I was putting into my body, I really sort of trained myself to just like black coffee, because it's, I think, maybe an acquired taste. It's a bitter that not everybody just likes right off the bat. But if you find a really good coffee and you're not drinking Circle K or Starbucks or something, then you may find that black coffee is actually really good on its own. So I definitely had to train myself, work towards just kind of isolating the good and taking out the bad. And I see that we have a comment from a Facebook user, says drinking cardiology coffee every day mixed with the vanilla Daily Defense or just a black coffee. And I think that the addition of the Daily Defense is a really great call, because we're looking for, if you like the sweet and the little bit of creamy in the coffee, it's hard to find. I think the Daily Defense vanilla is a great route to go.
Now, they're both fantastic products, so it's okay to mix them together. You're definitely the child of the the Starbucks generation.
Oh yeah.
And I think also that so many teenagers and so many people in their 20s and like you are in your early 30s, if I may go there.
Yes.
I'm in my early 50s, so okay. But for your generation, where these children, they would go to Starbucks with their parents. And the macchiatos or frappuccinos or whatever those high sugar drinks were given to the child. And now, obviously, all the negative health ramifications of that. But then also, again, just now it's that addiction of addiction to to Starbucks. But let's jump into it. And again, welcome everyone. We are on Facebook Live. You may be listening to this in the future, and it'll be on a replay. It'll be an audio version on the podcast. So don't forget, when you see this podcast come up, feel free to take a listen, share it with your friends. So really what happened when I started looking at the cardiology coffee, I started looking around for a fantastic company to work with. And what I found was a company, a roaster in Phoenix, actually. So the tagline on the coffee is roasted in Arizona like the rest of us. And what I wanted to do, again, I wanted to find something really special, and that's what we did. We were able to find a single source for the coffee. So it's not beans from all over the world. It's not from all over a country. It's one farm in Honduras. And this Honduran farm was started as a women's co-op. So it was started by a group of women that were looking to find employment and then obviously find financial security for themselves in Honduras. So they started this, again, as that co-op. And then from there, they were able to make sure that it was 100% organic coffee and really do a lot for the particular community there. And the roaster that we use, they've been down to Honduras. We have not made it down there yet. That is our plan. And then what we did is that we had it third-party tested. So even though it's organic, I sent it off for third-party certification to make sure there were no contaminants of pesticides or metals in our cardiology coffee. And then we also had a third party tested for mold mycotoxins, because the mold mycotoxin, or these chemicals found in mold produced chemicals, if you will, these mold toxins are so proliferative in coffee. So we made sure, again, this coffee did not contain any levels of detectable mold mycotoxins, which is a worldwide crisis from mold mycotoxins in general, but certainly as it is in our food. So I wanted to make sure that any coffee that I would drink, or any coffee my wife would drink, any coffee that was consumed by friends or family, and including our patients and all of you out there as family and members of the 100-Year Heart Club at Natural Heart Doctor, we wanted to make sure, again, that you were getting the best version available. So we found the best place, the best location, loaded with antioxidants, loaded with vitamins and minerals. And then don't forget, we also give 5% back to an organization called Friends of Honduran Children. And Friends of Honduran Children, I vetted out that organization to make sure that they were sending down the items that the children need. And we send down multivitamins to the children. They build shelters with that. They practice organic gardening. We're not sending pharmaceuticals down to the kids. We're actually sending down health and wellness to the community that gives to us, and we hope to give back to them.
I love that. I think that that's so important to have that, full circle story and providing wellness back. And, I have been fortunate enough to recommend this to a number of patients who have, said, I love coffee, but I've had to quit drinking it because of my AFib or my, liver disease or this, that, or the other. And I'm like, you know what? It's not the coffee that's usually the problem. It's not the caffeine that's usually the problem. It's all of these other contaminants that you've done such an excellent job in sourcing that we are not providing our patients when we make these suggestions. And typically, I wonder if you have the same experience that I do with your patients, and that when they try cardiology coffee, they don't have those same experiences. It's not this racing. It's, of course, you still have some caffeine, but you don't have the mold mycotoxins. You don't have the pesticides that are often the culprit for some of these negative side effects.
Yeah, most certainly. It's from a lot of different factors, just like you said. And undoubtedly, we do find that when people switch to a cleaner coffee, they tend to tolerate it a lot better. You tell me, what in your medical education, what were you taught about coffee? Did they give you much attention to it? They probably did a lot more so than we did. We never, of course, got any education on nutrition as opposed to how you all did in your training. But, we also want to be here to be able to tell people that although your medical doctor may have told you to stop drinking coffee or caffeinated products, you should always listen to your doctor's advice, but maybe you need a new doctor. Maybe you need to listen to new doctors like Dr. Lattanza and I, where, again, if you like coffee and you are not actually having negative side effects, racing heart feelings or whatever, that are from the coffee or from the caffeine, then you should be drinking the best coffee. And of course, you and I, Dr. Lauren, will tell people what those benefits are when it comes to heart health and beyond. But, what kind of lip service was paid at naturopathic school?
It's interesting because we were told that there is, because coffee is so widely available and so widely consumed, especially, across the US and globally, that it's a major source of phytonutrients and phytochemicals, so these beneficial plant compounds in the human diet, because it's, this rich, it's a bean, it's rich in all of these phytochemicals. So it's really a high source of these antioxidant compounds that humans consume every day. But, they didn't always take the caveat that the organically produced coffee is so much higher in these compounds. So we were instructed of the benefit of coffee as a whole, but not necessarily the fact that the majority, 90% is actually quite a bit more toxic and less beneficial than an organically sourced coffee.
The thing with organic in general is when it pertains to organic plants, because organic plants are not sprayed with pesticides, they need to produce their own pesticides. They need to produce their own phytonutrients to be able to help the plant survive. So organically grown coffee typically has a lot more of those phytonutrients, a lot more antioxidants, because again, they need to use these things to defend themselves against the environment. And once you start looking at the breakdown, there are hundreds, if not over thousands, of phytonutrients inside of the coffee. And you mentioned it being a bean. Now, I know neither one of us are botanists to get into, what is a bean, what is a seed. But again, a lot of people, that I read, again, coffee is a seed, because again, the coffee pod it's actually fruit. The coffee fruit is dropped from the plant where the coffee is reproducing, and the fruit drops down, and then the fruit actually contains 2 seeds in there. And then of course, those would lead to another coffee plant, is how that would roll. But, again, it's interesting how many people people I've seen over the years who've been told to stop drinking coffee, and it really was for no reason whatsoever. That again, coffee, they were told, well, you've got high blood pressure, don't drink coffee. You've got atrial fibrillation, don't drink coffee. You've got coronary artery disease, don't drink coffee. And it turns out, right, Dr. Lauren, that actually it's beneficial for all those cardiology conditions and more.
Absolutely. And, and I always tell patients as well, like, if you enjoy coffee, just do the right kind, but also see how you feel with it. If you do drink coffee and you notice that, even if it's cardiology coffee and it does tend to spike your blood pressure for whatever reason, then avoid it. But listening to yourself is best. Sourcing the best for yourself is, of course, best. But I find it to actually be beneficial more often than not. So especially when we see so many patients with high blood pressure and palpitations, and they just say, I really would do anything to avoid these conditions. So I've gotten rid of coffee. And then we show them the research like we love to do and say, actually it's been found to be beneficial. If we've sourced you an organic mold-free coffee, then it's going to be beneficial for you. And I know that you've definitely provided the research for us before, and in different, conditions, of course. But so maybe tell us some of the amounts of coffee that's been beneficial in certain conditions and so on.
Well, again, the individual is the individual. When the studies are done, they are done on larger populations of people. But what the literature does tell us, and we've got other videos on this, and we'll put up more. And in fact, on the cardiologycoffee.com website, we've got a lot of these studies as well. So think about things like atrial fibrillation, coronary artery disease and coronary calcification, cholesterol, blood pressure, palpitations, PACs, PVCs, cardiomyopathy, congestive heart failure, stroke risk, and ultimately the arbiter of everything really is life expectancy, where coffee drinkers live longer. And it's really exciting to be able to offer that to people. And the reality is, Dr. L, is that these studies are done on people that are consuming inferior coffees.
Right.
And so what would the data look like if we were using the best coffees in the world to actually study these people? If we looked at 100 people with atrial fibrillation, paroxysmal atrial fibrillation, they go in and out of atrial fibrillation. And half the group gets cardiology coffee, half the group gets either no coffee or a coffee substitute or a Dunkin' Donuts coffee, and seeing what the results are. We do know that, again, people who drink coffee have less atrial fibrillation episodes, less strokes, less heart attacks, less coronary artery calcification, lower blood pressure, better cholesterol, and like I said, they live longer. And it really has to do, not because it's some magic seed, but because of the very high amount of antioxidants, phytonutrients, polyphenols, vitamins, including some of the B vitamins, the minerals that are in there, including potassium and magnesium. And ultimately, too, is that when you drink, especially black coffee, you're getting something that essentially has zero caloric value, is not going to raise insulin levels. It's not going to do anything detrimental compared to how people, even if they're drinking a juice or they're drinking, a shake or a smoothie or whatever else they may be doing. Coffee and tea have very negligible caloric value, so they're not going to lead to insulin spikes. They're not going to change anything really in our metabolics whatsoever. And ultimately, it's addition by subtraction, because we're not taking in something, again, with a lot of calories. We're able to maintain that state. And I think it's good. Tell me what you think about people who practice intermittent fasting, or even people who do our 100-year heart challenges, where there can be these benefits. And we can still, fast and have our coffee too.
Absolutely. Yeah. Actually, I've been on a reel kick lately, and I just made a reel about things that you can ingest while still staying in a true fast. Black coffee is, I think, first and foremost, my favorite thing, because there's water. You have to absolutely stay hydrated through a fast, but there's still information coming from everything that you're ingesting. So be it food or otherwise, if you're ingesting black coffee or black tea or what have you, you're getting those phytonutrient chemical benefits to provide, cellular and body, antioxidants and good information, but you're not having your insulin spike. You're not having any proteins or any fats or anything, to where you are staying in a true fast. So it can kind of push you further a little bit to get to that next meal. There is some satiating effect from drinking coffee. So I highly recommend. I know that when I intermittent fast, which is very regularly, and I'm very much looking forward to the 100-year heart challenge, I will definitely be leaning on, coffee, both caffeinated and decaf, to help get me through those longer fasts and just, to enjoy on a morning basis.
Yeah, when I've done the 72-hour fasting before, the times that I've done it, it's interesting. Obviously, on morning one, that's like the start of the whole program. So invariably, I will have my standard 3 to 4 cups of coffee. On day number 2, it's usually 1 to 2 cups of coffee. And by day number 3, for whatever reason, I'm not interested in drinking coffee really at all. Maybe I'll have half a cup. I start to get a little nervous because I love my morning ritual, but when I wake up without that taste for it, now again, I end the fast and I wake up the next morning, and the good news is I'm back to my morning healthy ritual. But it's interesting about fasting. And I think, again, fasting is to the benefit of the individual person, however they need to do it, whatever crutch they need to rely on. Because some people will say, well, if there's no coffee, I'm not going to fast. Well, again, go ahead and enjoy that with your fast as well. Dr. Lauren, tell us about some of the other health benefits of coffee. I know you are our resident, gut and adrenal and thyroid guru. What do you think about some of these other benefits?
I think that any way that you can get a boost of antioxidants in your day-to-day life is absolutely beneficial to all of the organs and glands in your body. Absolutely. And even so, liver health, there is actually a compound that is made upon drinking coffee that has been shown to help detoxify the liver, which clearing up a detox pathway is absolutely central to just daily life. But it has been shown to reverse fibrosis in the liver. So if you're kind of been on this track of accumulating, some sludge and some toxins over your life, getting something that is truly an antioxidant, very, very rich in polyphenols, can be so beneficial for clearing up your detox pathways, supporting proper thyroid function, avoiding the hindrance of deterrence of gut health from pesticides and so on. So drink up and, including cognitive function. That's why we all reach for it every morning. So I think from head to toe, there's absolutely benefit to be had from a good quality sourced coffee.
For the AFibers who are out there, again, the benefits: lower risk of AFib, lower risk of stroke. What they also found is that actually the caffeine itself, when they gave caffeine to AFibers, caffeine, again, is a natural compound that comes from plants like coffee. And when they gave people the caffeine molecule, they actually found they had lower risk of atrial fibrillation just from caffeine in and of itself. So again, you don't have to drink decaf. If you want to drink decaf, go ahead and do so. But it's so amazing and we talk about the antioxidants so much. Let's briefly talk about what is, because when we talk about oxidation means rusting of the body. In short, if we think about it that way, it's the rusting process. When metal rusts, it's because of the oxidation process. Well, the oxidation event itself is kind of like the cellular garbage that's produced. When the cells do certain functions, in fact, all their functions, they leave a lot of waste, a lot of oxidized garbage. So you need something to counterbalance that pro-oxidative activity. You need those antioxidants to balance things. And I think that's where a lot of people get in the trouble, of course, is that they're doing a lot of things in their lives that lead to oxidation, just normal life and even physical activity. And a lot of athletes, typically long distance runners, professional cyclists, long distance, endurance activities that actually lead to a lot of oxidative stress. And if you don't counterbalance that, one of the things you run into is atrial fibrillation. So, again, to be able to utilize coffee that has all those antioxidants, so simple, tastes so great, and again, is so readily available, without the caloric value to it as well. What do you think, Dr. L, go ahead, you have a thought on that?
Well, yeah, I was going to say, you and I have the training and the educational background to be able to picture these reactive oxygen species and kind of what's actually going on. But I try to, explain to our patients that we do actually a number of different testing for this and to understand the oxidative process that's going on in their body and the burden that's being placed on the body. So it's, we always say, cholesterol isn't bad. It's oxidized cholesterol that's bad. And so we want to really prevent all these things that, just from breathing the air that we live in and, drinking the water that we're exposed to. So we're constantly bombarded by things that are pro-oxidant. So if we can go back in and really double down on something that is antioxidant to combat those free radicals from creating further damage, it's all in our best interest.
Now, a lot of people, they talk about, the adrenal issues. I think a lot of things that have been said, a lot of the things that we talk about right here, we've talked about so far, what's really in the scientific literature. Are you aware of any data that says that coffee is, or caffeine is damaging to the adrenals, leading to adrenal suppression? What's your research?
No, I think that is kind of, people that are adrenally fatigued may rely more on coffee, but it's really kind of something that it's not correlated because of causation. It's not causing the adrenal fatigue. It's not causing this, burnout. It's, I feel burnt out, so I'm going to reach for coffee. And if you're ingesting something that is full of pesticides and, again, creating more and more reactive oxygen species, more oxidation in the body, then we're going to have further detrimental impact to our adrenal glands. So if we can, stay on something that is full of antioxidants, that's going to provide cellular energy. So anymore, I think what we're seeing is that adrenal fatigue is truly like a mitochondrial fatigue. So we need to support the mitochondria, which is the powerhouse of the cell, provides cellular energy to every cell in our body. So if we can provide antioxidants, clearing out the detox pathways in the body and further supporting the mitochondria, that's really where we find true benefit in those patients with adrenal fatigue.
Excellent. And I think, like you said, kind of coming back or circling back to that mitochondria and how we were talking about the fasting before and how fasting leads to fantastic changes inside of the cell, in the mitochondria, clearing out the old dead mitochondria in a process called mitophagy, clearing out old cellular debris in autophagy. This is really just a fantastic way to be able to, move forward with this and really enjoy the detoxification process. Great tasting drink in order to, really help us to get through the cleanse, through these longer fasts and detoxes. Hey everyone, we're on Facebook Live. Jump in, ask questions. Great to see you here. We're back in the software that we're recording on doesn't let us see the names of the Facebook users unless you put it in there, unless you give approval to that. So, again, jump in, say hello to everyone, ask questions, and we are happy to help. It's Dr. Lauren Lattanza and I talking about cardiology coffee to use during intermittent fasting for our 100-year heart challenges. Again, the cardiology coffee tends to be a mainstay for a lot of the people who are in the program. We talked earlier about cardiology coffee, the fact that it's tested and it does not have any detectable mold mycotoxins, environmental toxins, and pesticides and the like. It is certified organic. It is sourced from a very clean Honduran farm, women's co-op, so on and so forth. And that's why we created cardiology coffee, really, again, to be able to espouse all the health benefits, all the cardiovascular health benefits of drinking one of the best coffees in the world, cardiology coffee.
Yeah, and we talked about the benefits of intermittent fasting, and I really think that there is just a completely inexhaustive list of benefits of intermittent fasting, certainly supporting the mitochondrial function. No matter what your ailment, no matter what you're experiencing, even if you're completely healthy, there are typically some benefits to be had from some level of intermittent fasting. If you're kind of lost and really don't know where to start, maybe you've never done a fast, maybe you're just kind of dabbling a little bit and done 12-hour fasts and want to get a little bit stronger in that, knowledge is power. So I really encourage, if you haven't already, to sign up for the 100-Year Heart Challenge. Everybody in that challenge will be receiving a 25% off discount code for cardiology coffee. There will be a giveaway. So one lucky winner will receive a cardiology coffee mug and a bag of coffee. So if you haven't already joined that, there's so much information to be learned and to just further you into further supporting your fasting, your cardiac health, and your longevity as a whole.
Fantastic. All right, well, I'm excited for the next 100-Year Heart Challenge, get my fasting on, and again, be inside the program and really doing this through the team approach. I think that's what's so exciting about what we offer here, at Natural Heart Doctor, and these challenges that we do, the 100-Year Heart Challenge, 21-day event, and really just kind of setting the stage for the best in health and wellness going forward. Don't forget all the health benefits. Again, just to reiterate, everything that coffee does: atrial fibrillation, lower risk of coronary disease, lower risk of heart attack, lower risk of heart attack after a heart attack, lowers coronary artery calcification. At Natural Heart Doctor, we do not want people getting coronary CT scans, but many of you already have had that done. You've been identified as someone with coronary artery calcification, and actually coffee leads to a reduction in coronary calcification, which is exciting. And again, lower risk of stroke, lower risk of heart failure, improved heart rate variability, actually lower heart rate overall. You would think that coffee drinkers have a higher heart rate, but coffee drinkers enjoy a lower average heart rate. And again, improved what's called heart rate variability. We won't have to dive into that right now, but again, just understand that there's a lot of benefits to having higher heart rate variability, HRV.
Ooh, there was one comment before we go. I think this is actually a really important question. So told that there is some nasty chemicals sometimes used in the decaffeination process. Cardiology coffee in the decaf version is, correct me if I'm wrong, used by the Swiss water method, which is, very non-toxic, no benzenes, no solvents like that used.
Yes, it's interesting because I have my slide deck up here as well. So to this particular person, this is from the journal Coronary Artery Disease in November 2016. If you'd like the link, we'd be able to send you the drink, or the link, and also the link to the drink. This is from multiple doctors that reported this in this particular journal article. So what they looked at, it's titled "Coffee Reduces the Risk of Death After Acute Myocardial Infarction, a meta-analysis." So what they did is they looked at all studies, and what they found is that in over 3,000 patients that they looked at light coffee drinkers versus non-coffee, heavy coffee versus non-coffee, and heavy coffee versus light. The conclusion was drinking coffee habitually following a heart attack was associated with a reduced risk of dying. Again, the journal Coronary Artery Disease, November 2016. And as I look at this here, so light coffee drinkers versus non-coffee, 21% reduction. Get this, heavy coffee drinkers versus non-coffee drinkers, a lower risk of 46%. Lower the risk by 46% in heavy coffee drinkers. I'd have to dive in deeper into the study. It looks like heavy coffee drinkers drank more than 2 per day, So again, 3 or more may be the sweet spot for coffee consumption after a heart attack. What do you think about that, Dr. Lauren?
I mean, can you imagine if that was the results of a pharmaceutical study? It would absolutely be a blockbuster. Every single doc would be having that written on a script and sent out the door with every patient. So it's just a staggering result. So very significant, incredibly beneficial.
And again, that was on your garden variety coffees that are not going to be organic, that are not going to be pesticide free, that are not going to be mold mycotoxin free like ours is. So can you imagine all the benefits? And then of course, Dr. Al, when you stack it on top of everything else that we do here at Natural Heart Doctor, how we markedly reduce your risk of dying overall after a heart attack, from stroke, AFib, congestive heart failure, you name it. So exciting stuff.
You go down with the 100-year heart lifestyle and you double down with that, and those results would be even more incredible.
You will live well, think well.
Exactly. All right. Well, this has been so much fun. I think that if you've tried cardiology coffee, you know it's wonderful. So if you have not, please go ahead and order a bag. Or if you want to go ahead and sign up for the 100-Year Heart Challenge, you'll there find a 25% discount code. We look forward to seeing you all and teaching you about fasting and all of the benefits that are to be had from that. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. I hope you have a great start to your week, and we will see you all next time.